take flight. Aliens and rockin' tunes, country beats under the moons. Space dust in my boots, all new. Gigolo's hosting soon. Welcome to the galaxy. Radio waves so wild and free. Tune and feel the energy. With Dakota ride the beat. When it's been new every song.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Dakota France, and I am the Intergalactic Gigolo. Today's recording date is August 23rd, 2024. It is currently 11:52 p.m. Mountain Time. So I'm going to be recording this until tomorrow. A little bit of a delay since the last recording of this show because, I thought it was just allergies getting the better of me because of the wildfires in my area, but I ended up getting a little bit sick. I'm feeling much better now. My voice is still a little raspy. Got a little bit of a cough, but we're all good. You know, we're alive. We're well. We're still taking on the world. And that's why I also programmed a lot of these shows in advance. So that way, you know, y'all can still have consistent content even if I'm having a down moment. Well, as long as my computer's still working and I'm not having to make a mad dash on eBay in order to get something new just to get back up and running. Oh, well. So some of you may be wondering what the heck's going on, what today's topic is about. You realize the name of this episode is Stories Better Left Unsaid. And it's going to make sense why I went with that name very quickly. Because I wanted to address something. Now, there's going to probably be some of you that reach out to me saying, "No, Dakota, you don't have to do this. You don't have to explain yourself. You have your reasons, but yada, yada, yada." But I feel this is a conversation that needs to be had because it is a recurring theme when it comes to disclosure and the supernatural, these communities that often come together when on YouTube channels in order to communicate with one another because, well, usually people who go into this type of stuff, even though the sort of taboo that has always surrounded it has lifted, there's still a level of isolation. There's still many who struggle with the thought that, if they go to talk about some of the things they've experienced, they're probably going to be judged, ridiculed, and assumed they were crazy and thrown into a loony bin. Well, newsflash, ladies and gentlemen. Even here in the States, I've personally seen mental health facilities call in help from paranormal groups because of some of the things that are going on. The world has officially gone that crazy. And in this light, a lot of very good people, some who I'm close to, are a bit annoyed with how these communities, quote unquote, achieve their status, how they go about their business. Now, this is not me trying to critique anyone about how they've gone certain ways, or I'm not here to try to say this person pays reviews and this person does this person does that. No. Unless someone is legitimately causing harm to themselves or to others in order to achieve certain things, or basically just using that. But if they're using it as an excuse to hurt others, then yeah, call it out. But I'm going to address a story that I've refrained from telling in full detail because, well, I hope it helps explain some things. I've noticed frequently that with a lot of these fringe groups, as I was trying to say earlier, that they're all trying to be seen as the big dog, the professional, the top one, the one who has all the answers, and blah, 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 blah. And quite frankly, I mean, hell, some of you who have followed us for a while now probably heard me call out a few of those individuals on the Bald and Mocker show because they were getting ticked off we weren't giving them attention. It's like, you want attention? All right. How about you talk to us one-on-one for an interview instead of trying to showboat in the middle of the audience being an annoying little heckler? You know what I mean? try to make this as much of an open platform for everybody to, kind of share their ideas to help promote their projects, whatever they happen to be working on. Have a little bit of respect for everybody else, because there's certain things that may be going on that they may not be comfortable with sharing, or at least not with the general public. And that's actually such a story that I want to share with you all tonight. Because there's some people who have this idea, well, Dakota, if you're having all these experience problems, you have more stuff on YouTube. You're not fake. You're not real if you're not posting shit. Really? I can go into I could waste time going into the behaviors of these individuals, how they treat others, how they try to take advantage of people. But there's no changing them. There's not. They have to realize that they're the ones being the assholes. But you all want to know why I'm careful about what I share? Well, for one of the more recent incidents was the one that you're all aware of. And those yet who followed me for a while already know the story where I found my star wife's envoy, and she has expressed, concern about coming out in public because of a lot of what happens. A lot of these trolls and all that. They don't want to deal with that drama, and they have their own personal situations. And because of who this person is to me and how our relationship has evolved, I choose to respect that, because no amount of YouTube subscribers, none of that, that doesn't matter to me. Doing what's right, trying to help people, that's what mattered. But there's also been a couple other incidents that made me start locking down on what I put out. Not because someone was stealing my material, not because I was bored and decided to do something else, because I did start fairly young when I was getting out there. It was because people got hurt. And I'm not just talking hurt feelings. People got hurt, people got killed. And it was not my place to tell those stories. I was merely the mysterious stranger who happened to roll in at the right time. When you get into these fringe communities, one thing that's going to be blatantly obvious is how much of this is tied directly to mental health on both the presenters, the clients, whatever the situation may be. There is a mental health aspect. That's why a lot of tarot card readers can pick up audiences quite quickly, because not a lot of people, some people may go to those things just for fun, but nobody who reaches out to the supernatural is doing so from a halfway decent state of mind. Something's always going on that led them that way. And you know what? Maybe these tarot card readers, these palm readers, these psychics, maybe they actually, are worth the damn. That's something that has to be evaluated on a case-by-case situation. I can give you my thoughts on certain individuals if they've come across my winds of information, but that's something to be evaluated on a case-by-case situation. Tonight's story, I was asked to exceed caution with what I revealed because of what all happened. A lot of my clients, when I go to take on these private consultations, they're well aware I have media contacts. I do this. I have resources to go out to a lot of major news outlets. I even I haven't quite used it often, but we do have resources at my disposal to post things flat out on billboards. Hell, some of you may even seen when I put Bald and Bonkers in Times motherfucking Square. Because guess what? There's a service out there now that only charges like $40 in order to make that happen. $40. And that aspect alone intimidates a lot of people because, you see all of these ghost hunting shows, these paranormal programs. You have your Help My House is Haunted. You have, like Hold Files, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, UFO Hunters, whatever the case may be. And some of those people involved in those shows, they're halfway decent people. And, I'll just say it myself. I personally cannot judge if someone aspires to try to get to that level of notoriety, because it does open some doors. It's nowhere near as glamorous as people think. It's not that you're going to be set for life with a salary and never have to be able to work a regular day job ever again. It's very rare for that to happen. It takes a lot of work to make that happen. It takes a lot of work that a lot of these people that are trying to push for that ain't even capable of handling mentally, for whatever the case may be. And I know it probably sounds like I'm stalling a little bit, but I'm going to get to the story. I got a little sidetracked there. My bad. But the point is, this client was one of my very first bad cases. And what do I mean by bad is that it wasn't just some random haunted house. Something that was going on inside the house was triggering the activity, which was strange by itself, because it was one of the first cases I took on, because it was a relatively new house, built maybe 5 years prior to this incident. And there's a lot of people who are bothered by the fact that I share these more negative encounters, thinking that, oh, I should be focusing on more high vibrational stories. I'm going to get to that point here in a minute, because a lot of these same people that have that mentality that you should only share the happy-go-lucky unicorns and rainbow thoughts, a lot of them have the same behavior as a lot of the crazy religious nuts that push people towards satanic rituals. I'll say it. A lot of y'all act like the crazy religious aunties trying to shove their beliefs down people's throats. And what push a lot of these younger generations to these quote unquote satanic groups. Now, that's an entirely different conversation. But a lot of that behavior is what pushes those people down the line. And that's actually going to be a conversation that we're going to get into in the next episode. So some of you are probably wondering, Dakota, what the hell is the story? Well, first off, I won't tell you the story, but I think we should set up a nice little country song to get things started. How about you? This is Am I the One by Starlight Amnesia.
Am I the one you think of? He's standing there. Do you feel my heartbeat? Or do you even care? I see it in your eyes, girl, caught between two worlds. Do you dream of our time, or is it all just swirls? Am I the one you think of when you're lying in your bed? Do you whisper my name, or is it all in my head? Your laugh that goes softly, I remember it well. Do you miss my touch, or in his arms you dwell? We had our moments, baby, wild and free like fire. Do you still feel that spark, or is it just desire? Am I the one you think of when you're lying in your bed? Do you whisper my name, or is it all in my head? Baby, wild and free like fire. Do you still feel that spark, or is it just desire? Am I the one you think of when you're lying in your bed? Do you whisper my name, or is it all in my head? Yeah, in my head.
Some of my longer time fans may be familiar with this story, but I want you to think of something. Because there's a pattern I've noticed with certain groups, certain individuals. If you're lucky enough to be in a relationship right now, I want to ask you something. You don't have to answer in the comments. You don't have to answer in the chat. You want to send me a little email? That's cool. You want to message me through, the Facebook or the Twitters or the Instagram, whatever the case may be. It's okay. It all goes directly to me to talk about this. But I want to ask you if you truly feel happy with your significant other. Why do I bring this question up? Because this is going to probably trigger some people. And it's probably for the best that it does. Because I hope, it is my sincere hope that this does get you to start thinking. To make sure that you're in the relationship you're in for whatever reason. To make sure that it's in the right reason and it is something that is truly beneficial to you. That it's not causing you harm, it's not causing other harm. And the mentality that it brings you. Is that other person truly looking out for your best interests? This is going to probably trigger some people. But there's a reason why I wanted to bring up this story. Not just to explain why I'm careful with what stories I share. I was 16 years old when this happened. Got an email from my old website from a woman a couple towns over. She was trying to look for some help because she believed that she had something going on in her house. She would describe, scratches in the walls, voices, weird shadows, a lot of the classic signs for a cliche poltergeist case. I was initially hesitant to take it on, but there was one thing mentioned in the email that really bothered me, and it was why I took it on in the first place. And it's the one thing guaranteed to get my attention, and it has been used against me to try to trick me before, and I was not happy with those individuals. But that's a story for another time. This woman mentioned that she was worried about the safety of her two young daughters, both under the age of 7 at the time. So I took on the case. I scheduled a walkthrough with the client, typical procedure, just so I can get a layout of the inside of the house, find out where the activity is taking place, get a general feel for it. The day comes for the interview. I have a little notepad, a digital voice recorder tucked away in my pocket so I could record the entire session. I had the client walk me through the house, showed me the bedrooms where she had old family heirlooms, showed me where she's heard scratches. The main thing she was concerned about was having me talk to her young daughters. She was wanting to try to keep her reasoning, I should elaborate, was that she was wanting to keep as much of this away from them as possible. However, within 5 minutes, I started to get this feeling. It was a bit unsettling at the time. Definitely negative, but not like anything demonic or nothing like that, trust me. That level of anger, hatred, that'll make you physically sick. But you ever walk into a room and just know that something big just went down? It was like you walked in, and when you start asking questions about what the hell's going on, you find out that you had just missed a fight. And that feeling in the air is that anxiety, that tension, the adrenaline. It's still lingering in the air. People haven't had a chance to cool themselves off, to calm down, to process their emotions, what got them so worked up in the first place. That was the feeling I got. When I got to a certain spot, see, the living room, kitchen is one of those kind of open floor plan deals. I would start walking towards the kitchen, and all of a sudden, I kind of get this feeling, like this rush, that could only be described like someone just hit me across the face. So I even had to ask the client. I even had to stop her right where she was. I asked her, it's like, ma'am, if you don't mind me asking, who got hit right here? I started to look around to try to observe the situation. I also started to notice little pieces of what looked like a coffee mug lingering about, like someone had hurried to rush to clean it up, but accidentally missed a piece because it was just tucked under the couch. I even reached down, grabbed the piece, and picked it up. It's like, who just got hit? So that's when she told me. It took me 5 minutes to start to realize that what she had told me in that moment was the cause for whatever activity was going on. She told me that her and her husband got into a bit of an argument. And while she was standing towards the front room, the front door, her husband got mad because she talked and told him that I was coming to check out the house. He got mad. Then during their argument, as he started to raise his voice a little more, all of a sudden the aforementioned coffee mug flew across the room and right into his face. When she told me this, it would not take a major psychologist, a criminal profiler, none of that. It would not take a psychic, none of that bullshit, to realize that her cracking the door just that much, not even a full inch, to tell me what happened in that moment. It did not take anything for me to realize that she was holding back something bigger. And as I started to see tears start building up in her eyes, I started to notice a few other details. As her makeup started to run, there were dark circles under her eyes. And I'm not talking the patches of dark gray you either get from low iron or lack of sleep. Those were fresh bruises. Even though it was in the middle of summer, early August, when this happened, she had a sweater on, long sleeve clothes. She was an older woman, late 30s, so I knew not to question it. Her sleeve lifted up, and she had bruises on her arms. That's how I knew it took me. Why I knew so quickly what was causing the activity, or at least what caused it to build up so much. You see, with poltergeist cases, and no, I'm not using any voice filters. Like I said, I'm still coming off of a cold, and there's still a little bit of crap in my system, so my voice may start changing in mid-conversation. See what I mean? Anyway, her husband was beating the shit out of her. With poltergeist cases, a lot of paranormal groups come to the same conclusion that there's usually a woman in the house under severe emotional distress when poltergeist-like activity kicks up. Normally, excuse me while I take a quick drink. Normally, this young lady would be about 8, 9 years old, just barely going into puberty, up until about their mid-20s. So the traditional poltergeist case, the typical excuse of having a hormonal teenage girl in the house, that wasn't going to fly. I wanted to hold back, maintain a, kind of a professional outlook. But I started to notice this woman getting emotional. My own sensitivities, if you will, started to get in the way. And I gave her a hug right there on the spot. I personally knew the type of lifelong damage having an abusive male figure in the house and the family dynamic could do. Now I knew why the woman really wanted to keep this as much from her kids as possible. She had taken a few rounds because she was worried that her husband was going to start smacking on his 2 young daughters. So, with the information I got, and as well as the notes I took, because that was at one point while we were in her bedroom that something actually flew past the window. It's like some sort of weird white apparition. And I started to get a little bit excited. It's like, oh, we have something here. I still wonder to this day what would have happened if I had a chance to check out that house. Probably wouldn't have been good. Towards the end of the interview, I did my best to console the woman and gave her my number so she can contact me because, well, she wanted to talk with her husband before she scheduled any investigations in her house. Some strange man alone in the house. You know what I mean? So I Said, all right, all understood. I'll check in with you in about a week. She appreciated that. I gave her another quick hug, and before I left, I told her we're going to make sure we get this figured out. In the moment, I may have, tried to do a cool little wink at her way, just to, use my charms, if you will. A week goes by, I haven't heard from the woman, so I sent her a quick text. Said, hey, this is Dakota. You had me take a look at your house in regards to the activity that you believe was going on. Just wanted to see if you had a chance to talk with your husband about when to set up a date. About 5-10 minutes later, she gives me a call. Once again, I could tell by the tone in her voice she was trying to hold back something. She started to apologize, saying that her husband wasn't comfortable with me being in the house. In the background of the phone, I could hear someone, an older woman. Sounded like whispering at first, but my client, she didn't seem to acknowledge it. The voice said, tell him the truth now before he does something. Now, in the time that I was waiting for her to give me her call, I started to consult with some of my law enforcement contacts. Like I said, I was 16 years old when I took this case. I was 14 when I got my start. So I was not expecting to ever run into this type of situation. But I already knew how bad it was. I couldn't prove it. I didn't physically see the assault take place, which is part of the problem. I could, pass a word along, say, hey, you might want to keep an eye on this house. I think there's a domestic situation. But unfortunately, the way things are in the world and for how desperate people are to say they have a significant other in their life, the things they're willing to put up with. I'll just say this. Even the police, the attorneys, the judges, when they think the coast is clear, they ain't afraid to mutter the words, why the fuck did those people breed? But back to the phone call. There was not much I could do in that moment. But as I was talking with my law enforcement contacts, tried to see if I can get any more information on the house. How frequent was 911 called there? The only thing that they could tell me right off the bat that there was at least one call for paramedics because an older woman had collapsed. It was their mother-in-law. She had slipped on one of the kids' toys, fell, and hurt herself pretty good. But at the time of this case, she was still alive. But then they started to tell me, when I emphasized that I fully believed that the husband was doing something, they started running through a series of questions. They had a certain idea of what may have been going on, and they wanted to see how much I picked up on. The gist of it was that the reason behind a lot of domestic violence situations, why a lot of relationships seem to just snap overnight, was because the abuser, they typically are either being unfaithful or they're thinking about it. And they don't have the emotional maturity to just say that they want to leave the relationship. They feel like it's better to push away the person that they're with so they feel less guilty. And oftentimes they try to, the other person, they're wanting to save the relationship. They're not wanting to acknowledge. Maybe they're aware something's going on, but they don't necessarily want to acknowledge it. They want to save the relationship or whatever status they may be. They think that they have to endure that abuse, which is absolute bullshit. If you're in a situation like that, for fuck's sake, get out, especially if you have kids. I don't care what your reasoning is. You don't deserve that. And if you have kids around that are being targeted by that abuse, whatever happens to them is on you, not the person that's swinging on them. And I'll admit, yeah, it's a scary thought of leaving, scary thought of potential retaliation. And there was another instance where a friend of mine I went to school with now shares a grave with her own mother because her mother found out that the stepdad was abusing him, sexually abusing her daughter, and was trying to get away. She was trying to do the right thing. So he shot and killed both of them before turning the gun on himself. So I know it's a scary thought.
Dusty path, whisper their goodbye. Heroes ride, leaving tears to dry. Kissed by dreams they can't deny. Broken hearts sigh beneath the sky. Echoes of promises in the night. Stars fall from a hopeful height. Chasing what's right, they take flight, leaving love in shadow daylight. Heroes building better worlds alone. Shattered pieces of love well known. Chasing what's right, they take flight, leaving love in shadow daylight. Heroes building better worlds alone. Shattered pieces of love well known. Hearts aching from seeds they've sown. Lonely paths where they've grown. Bridges burn with every stride. Tears mix with the rising tide. Words left unsaid where hope died. Heroes' trails where lovers cried. Fates intertwined now asunder. Roaring skies filled with thunder. Love left in silent wonder. Heroes on paths we ponder. Heroes building better worlds alone. Shattered pieces of love well known. Chasing what's right, they take flight, leaving love in shadow daylight. Heroes building better worlds alone. Shattered pieces of love well known. Hearts aching from seeds they've sown. Lonely paths where they've grown.
The feeling that you have to endure the abusive relationship only hurts yourself, and it hurts those that actually care about you. The one thing that helped me get through to my client was that she actually used to be an EMT. She's seen what happened in these cases and what path that she was walking down. As I was on the phone with her, I simply asked her, don't specify any details, but did he hit you again? Make something up about the kids' homework or something. Hide what you're saying so I know what's really going on. And she complied. She confirmed that he got upset again. He was fairly certain he knew who I was. Even threatened to try to make a motion against me. Try to take me out, as he said. Let's just say he was a scrawny little bitch. While I was on the cloud with the phone, I had to ask her, do you know if your husband is potentially seeing someone else? She froze. Her husband had left the house, so she was taking full advantage of the moment to tell me everything straightforward. She stopped. Her voice would break up as she was trying to say, I'm not sure. I don't know why he's at. Listen to me. I told her, listen to me. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I need you to be completely honest. Don't do it for me. Do it for yourself, and do it for those little girls. You know what happens. You know what happens if you do not do something, and do something now. It's like, is there anybody he's been hanging around with that he may even try to say that, oh, it's a babysitter for the girls? You know, I went through all the cliche little arguments, little attempts that a cheating husband may use to try to gaslight his wife. That, oh, it's just a babysitter for the kids. It's like, well, my stepmother was originally just a babysitter for Dakota. The more I asked her these questions, the more it started to pound through to her head that she wasn't going to be able to save this marriage. But what she could do was save herself. save her children, and get the fuck out of there. There was no thorough investigation done. There wasn't one needed. I knew everything I needed to know. When I had a chance to listen through the digital voice recorder, I even heard the same voice that came through on the phone, and I was able to quickly determine who it was. It was this woman's mother, who was mostly wanted to just stick around to see her grandbabies. That's all she was doing. But she realized what was going on with the husband, potentially even saw something, and she was pissed. Rightfully so, in my opinion. At the end of the phone call, I told her what I thought was going on. Your mother is here. She's been trying to tell you to wake up, to get away, because you are being hurt. That if you do not get away, something you're going to regret is going to happen to you and your daughters. And those are marks that never go away. At the end of the phone call, she thanked me for hearing her out. And I thought that was that. Because I was underage, it was best I didn't pursue anything further. I wasn't necessarily against it. She was an attractive woman, but it wouldn't have been right. 3 weeks later, I get a text message on my phone. It was her. Only 2 words. Help me. I had all I needed. The husband found out she was getting ready to leave, and he was ready to fight. I made a phone call to that police department, told them what I knew, told them how I knew the situation, how I knew the family, and it was getting bad. I told them not to give me a call back, wanted to try to stay as anonymous as possible, because I felt that a woman in that situation, she didn't exactly realize I was underage. She might get the wrong idea of why I made sure to help her. And even during that first interview, she did try to kiss me. I don't hold any resentment towards her. I don't feel like I was in any danger from herself, but it was not right of me. Would not have been right of me to take advantage of that case, take advantage of that woman. Because in that response, I'd be taking advantage of those 2 little girls for my own gain. It was after that case I started shutting down the more public side. I could still tell the stories. I could write books. I can talk about it when I do interviews. I could talk about it when I do gigs like this. But as far as what I used to do was put together like little clips in a show format of my findings on cases. Even if the case was absolutely dull, nothing happened, we had debunked absolutely everything that was going on. I could still use that as a way to, go online, show people, how easy it is to get this stuff confused, how it's easy to twist the human senses, all that. I shut that down. I still took on cases. I didn't focus on public locations. I adjusted my focus towards private homes, and I upped the ante. There was a couple police officers who were some of my earliest fans. They found out that I did this type of stuff after I got into a fight while I was at school, and they started to ask me, Dakota, what happened? Why is there no video like you said? And I told him the story, and he completely understood. I actually ran into that officer the other day, still active duty. That was a memory trip. Some of you may be wondering what happened to that woman. Well, because it happened that night, she tried reaching out to me for help. She had more than enough to make it a quick divorce. She left him. She found herself a new place a couple hours away. Her daughters grew up. One got into racing. The one thing that is probably the most messed up about all this is that they saw enough that night to where the little girls didn't want their daddy around no more. And to see something that horrific, for a little girl to not want to see their daddy anymore, that's when you know something happened. Something truly devastating happened. I still have the occasional asshole who asks me that I should, put out more videos about my ghost hunts, otherwise it looks like I don't actually hunt. It's like, yeah, I do. But after this case, I knew that there was going to be more like it. That the people that came to me were going to be at one of the absolute worst times. and I was going to have to make the right calls. If I didn't, someone could have ended up dead. I've watched people be burned from the inside because they were possessed. I've watched their skin boil. I've had so-called shadow apparitions grab me by the neck, holding me in the air, trying to choke the life out of me. Now, mind you, I'm 6'7" and somewhere north of 350 pounds. That manifestation was so real, so intense, so in that moment, so intent on killing me because I took away its victim, that I could feel the leather of its skin. I've watched murders play out of my friends, the final moments of their death, because they wanted me to know what happened to them, because they knew I could see them. There's a quote from the Constantine movie. I know it comes from somewhere else, but I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's a warning I try to give people if they try to take things on like I have. Once these things see you, once you see them, they see you. And there's nothing you can do to break that away. You can either sit scared, trying to take all sorts of illicit substances, try to drink your way out of numbing your mind to not be able to process that stuff no more, or you can learn to fight. You learn to fight, you learn to tell the story to help others fight. I don't want fame and fortune from what I do. If I get it, awesome. Then I can do some stuff with it. Like how we're trying to work on getting Bald and Bonkers its own streaming platform so people can share their stories unrestricted. Yeah, unfortunately, for how the world works right now, you kind of need a little money in order to make that happen. I don't seek fame and fortune. I seek to try to help people as much as I can. Not with little tarot cards, not with psychic readings. I can start there, but I knew a long time ago that there was something different about me. Something that would haunt me. It still haunts me to this day. But one of two things I can do. I can make it known that these things are happening, show people it's possible to step up, to overcome it, to maybe help bring a better future for the world. That doesn't just toss the weak, low vibration of people to the side, but brings as many to the light as possible. Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? Trying to help each other out? And yeah, I'll be the first one to say that if you are able to get physical evidence of some sort of UFO, spiritual manifestation, any of that you'll flip people, flip the skeptics. And that's a good way to get the people that haven't been really affected. But what about those that are still haunted by the things they've seen? We're living in times where damn near everybody is being forced to kind of heal from their situations. That the right people are coming into our lives to show us how we need to evolve. However, those lessons decide to manifest is going to be a little bit different for everybody. But just because we've had horrific things happen does not mean we can't use the things we've learned from those horrific atrocities, even if we were responsible for them in some way. We can still flip the script and make something good happen out of these terrible situations. And that's the most important part. Not pretending that it's all rainbows, and unicorns, and peaches and cream. No. As lovely as that image may sound, you got to realize there's only one or two things that a unicorn's actually going to be. It's either going to be one, a horse with a really messed up tumor that's probably going to need to be shot soon to put it out of its misery, or what the unicorn actually was a rhino. And I wouldn't want to be on the business end of one of those. Wouldn't you agree? But what about the magical qualities of the unicorn's horn? Well, look up all the alleged medicinal uses of a rhino's horn and why they get poached. You'll see what I mean. But that's the point I want to reiterate to people. Whatever device you're using to listen to this, or maybe sometime in the near future, I'm able to clear up the transcripts enough to where I can publish them in the little books through Bonkers Books. Maybe I can put that together appropriately to where you can physically read what I'm saying. The point of all this is not to gain fame or fortune or subscribers. My God, It's about doing something to make the world a better place, leaving the place a little bit better than how you found it. One person may not be enough, and it may be a little intimidating. But this mentality that we got to wait for somebody else to come wipe our ass, that's got to stop. Or to think that we're somehow important because we have so X amount of people willing to watch us wipe our ass. I should really be careful about my phrasing considering how the internet is these days. But the point still remains. Let's not work to isolate people. And yeah, I've said that if you got somebody who's wanting to play victim, then it's best to leave them be. But sometimes, a lot of the time, people think they can play victim because there's no other way. They see no other way to have some sort of acceptance, to have some sort of acknowledgement. People turn abusive because they feel belittled by society for whatever reason. They feel like they may not be good enough. They may feel like everybody thinks they're better than them and all this. No one who has a good state of mind seeks out to hurt other people, no matter what medium they may choose in order to hurt others. Whether it's a mass shooter, mass stabbings, people don't just go out looking for reasons to hurt others unless they're broken themselves. Sometimes, and well, yes, in order to quote unquote fix themselves, they have to go about that journey on their own. But sometimes it takes the right people to help us get there. And when we come together like that, some of the most beautiful relationships, most beautiful memories, the most life-changing individuals will come into your life. And no matter how you part ways, they will leave that lasting impression so that you can do the same for others. That is what all this is about. I'm going to continue this conversation on next week's episode, Conversations with Lost Souls, because I've had this conversation with quite a few people now, and I want to read this out because there's going to be some topics in there that are going to be disturbing to some people because of their own pre-made assumptions. And that's why I want to do it. I still think that these alleged high vibrational people still need to be challenged. What are they truly willing to do to help make the world a better place? Are they just going to want to be sitting around meditating for a better place? That may help to an extent. But those who actually get off their asses and somehow make the effort, even if it is just something as small as giving a smile to a stranger you happen to walk past, that smile may save someone's life. That may be all it takes. Just a small act of kindness, of happiness, or just a little bit of a reminder that the world ain't as bad as it seems. Much love. Take care. I'll see you all next time. Gigolo out.
Ride the beat when it's spin to every song, jamming all night long. Neon lights where we belong, dance to cosmic throng. From the hills of Tennessee to the Milky Way and beyond, turning lives, set spirits free. Dakota's rocking on. Whoa, from the hills of Tennessee to the Milky Way and beyond, turning